Welcome to Highly Sensitive, Happily Married, the podcast that teaches you to not only have an easier marriage as a sensitive woman, but to have one that feels more amazing by the day. Where you'll hear relatable stories, love advice that works, and coaching on how to have a marriage where feeling upset and disconnected is a thing of the past, and where instead a sense of loving connection and even fun and lightness is the norm. I'm Hannah Brooks, highly sensitive person, love expert, and marriage coach, and I'm so happy to be on this journey with you. Hello, my friends, and welcome to episode 210, which is an updated, totally remade version of an older episode, and it's all about the sensitive love revolution. I wanted to bring you a fresh version of this concept today because the original episode wasn't fully up to snuff. And I think the way that I communicate on the podcast has grown quite a bit. And what I'm sharing today is so important for highly sensitive people. So I wanted to make sure I am talking about it again for anyone who is new and has not actually heard that older episode, or you haven't heard the older episodes. And I wanted to bring it to those of you who have listened to most of the episodes as an important touch point, or really a reminder of some of the very most important things that I don't think could really be repeated too much about the amazingness of your sensitivity and the power you have to bring the kind of relationship you want with your partner to life. So if you've ever felt like your relationship is harder than it should be, like you really do love your partner, of course, but you also get hurt or overwhelmed or reactive in ways that you don't want to, or if little things affect you more than they seem to affect other people, this episode and really the whole podcast is for you. And especially if you've ever wondered, why does this, or why do relationships, or why does this situation with my partner feel so intense for me? Why can't I just let things roll off my back? Why do traditional relationship tools not seem to work for me? There really is a very real reason, and that is high sensitivity. So about 20 to 30% of people are born with this trait called high sensitivity. And if you don't yet know, it means that your nervous system processes information and stimulation more deeply. So you notice more, you feel more, you're more emotionally and relationally attuned. And this is not a flaw or a weakness, although it is often misconstrued to be. It's actually a form of neurodiversity and really brings with it many gifts. But here's the problem. Most relationship advice was not designed for sensitive people. It often assumes that you can just think really differently all of a sudden, or communicate really differently all of a sudden, or stop taking things personally, or just be less emotional. In other words, it oftentimes assumes that you can just stop being a highly sensitive person, which is not possible because it's a biological genetic trait. So if you've tried traditional relationship advice, or you've tried taking advice on relationships from someone who does not understand high sensitivity, you very likely have not created lasting change in your relationship or in yourself. And in fact, sometimes it can make you feel worse or like something's wrong with you. And the truth is, there is nothing wrong with you. You simply need a different approach. And that's what this podcast and this entire body of work is about. And here's the truth that changed my life and the lives of so many women I've worked with. Sensitive people are actually wired for extraordinarily deep, meaningful, and secure relationships, more than non-highly sensitive people. But only when we learn how to work with our nervous system and emotional depth and the various traits of our sensitivity instead of against it. And when you learn to do that, everything begins to shift. You feel calmer, you feel safer inside yourself, you stop reacting in ways you regret, and your partner often begins to respond very differently to you in more of the ways that you'd like, with more love, with more support, with more care. And all of this happens without you forcing or controlling your partner or trying to make them into someone that they aren't. And this all matters not just for your marriage. The truth is, we're living in a time of deep division and reactivity and disconnection in our society. Many of the same patterns that create pain in our closest relationships are also playing out in families, in communities, and the larger world. And I know that highly sensitive women have a unique capacity to shift this. When we learn to regulate and stay grounded and lead with steadiness instead of reactivity, we become powerful forces for connection and collaboration and for healing. First in our own relationships and then beyond out in the world. And this is what I call the sensitive love revolution. It's a shift away from blame and pressure and trying to fix the other person and toward inner safety and emotional leadership and creating the conditions where love naturally grows stronger and stronger. And true caring actions can come more and more often for each other. Because real change in our relationships doesn't come from controlling our significant other or trying to get them to be different. It comes from transforming the emotional environment between both of you. And that starts inside you. So in this episode, we're laying the foundation for the sensitive love revolution. We're going to explore why sensitive women are uniquely positioned to lead it and the natural gifts that you bring to relationships and how simply embracing your sensitivity can really begin to shift your marriage and the world for the so much better. So let's dive in a little deeper, shall we? So again, you may have noticed, but the world right now and our intimate relationships, which are like microcosms of the macrocosm, do really lack sensitivity and compassion and thoughtful responsiveness right now. And it's really very obvious these days, probably in lots of places, but I live in the US and I see it intensely these days. Sensitivity and all that the word encompasses, like empathy, attunement, compassion, and responsiveness instead of reactivity, and tenderness. All of these beautiful things is what sensitivity really means. And it is the medicine that our relationships and our marriages and frankly our world really need so much more of right now. Now, this isn't because people are inherently unkind or incapable of love that there's a lack of sensitivity right now showing up all over the place. It's truly because these qualities were not consistently modeled and taught or reinforced over the generations. And other values were. But these sensitive qualities are things we really do naturally yearn for. We deeply crave this kind of attuned, caring connection in our marriages, and we long to see it reflected in the wider world too. I'm sure those of you kind of looking out and reflecting at what is happening in the US right now, for example, are deeply pained by it and really want to see love in place of hate and consideration in place of greed and cruelty. And this is where highly sensitive women come in. Because we notice more and feel more and process the world deeply and are deeply conscientious, we have a unique ability to bring more attunement and care and responsiveness into our relationships and into our world. And this isn't just a nice idea, it's our natural strength. And far from sensitivity being a flaw, this is exactly what gives us the power to lead love, especially when we've learned how to honor and work with our sensitivity. Then we naturally model the kind of love and connection that many people have never been taught to express. And again, that the world and our relationships really will grow from and benefit from having. So by leaning into this capacity, we don't just transform our own marriages. We set an example for others, inspiring deeper connection and empathy and care all around us. So this is really the heart of the sensitive love revolution. It's really a ripple effect that starts with you, with your presence and your sensitivity, and spreads outward to your partner and into your family, and again, ultimately the wider world. And the good news is you don't have to figure this out alone. There are practices and frameworks like tending to your inner nervous system and stewarding your thinking and building emotional safety and agency that help you show up fully in your relationships with the full power of your sensitivity. And these, of course, are the same things I teach and help you develop in Foundations of Emotional Well-Being for HSPs and Marriage Sanctuary 1-to-1, where we do the deepest relationship work in your unique marriage, and you learn to lead with clarity and confidence and the kind of care that inspires loving collaboration from your partner. So I invite you to really just take this in. You and all the other HSP women out there are leaders of love and relating that our world desperately needs and that our own personal lives need too. We have what it takes to pave the way for our partners to bring more care and attentiveness and attuned responsiveness into our marriages, and ultimately to pave the way for humans in general to bring more of this into the world. We have what the world lacks in these realms. And if you think about it, about 80% of the population is not highly sensitive. And we're the 20 to 30% who naturally embody these gifts. And many people, especially men, of course, and many of us are in relationships with men, even highly sensitive men, have been taught to cover over this part of themselves, to hide their sensitivity or their tenderness and their care and softness. Many men have been taught to hide this. And by the way, I have several episodes that talk about this more in depth. And it is actually a really important thing to understand because how profoundly it impacts our relationships with them. So one recent episode where I talk about this is the acceptance switch, episode 205. But really, men in particular face a lot of societal pressures that make it hard for them to arrive fully formed into our lives as empathetic, attentive, deeply loving partners. And that's why our natural capacity as sensitive women is so critical. We are best positioned to walk and model the pathway for what relational attunement, or really a sensitive love revolution, can look like in our one-on-one relationships and out into the wider world. Now, here comes what many of you have already thought or felt about yourself. Many highly sensitive people have thought or been told that aspects of our sensitivity, like deep feeling, emotional reactivity, or deep concern for others, are burdens or weaknesses. They are not. When we learn to work with our sensitivity, these become superpowers, the very superpowers that make the very best relationships possible. So I want to take a little bit of time now and turn some of these ideas of, oh, this is a weakness, oh, this sensitivity thing is a burden, oh, this is a challenge or a problem or a curse. I want to take some time and turn some of that on its head by getting into some specifics about some of the ways these are superpowers instead of curses, because you probably haven't seen this in yourself or recognize these things as gifts and as exactly what's needed to bring about the love and connection that you actually are yearning for in your relationship. So the first thing I want to mention is just that our desire and the fact that we really value relating with sensitivity so deeply can cause some challenges in our intimate relationship if we aren't channeling it well. Like sometimes it will lead to us, like our strong desire to have such an intimate, yummy relationship can actually lead to falling into doing what I call the backfiring tactics, which actually backfire. And there's an episode called Backfiring Tactics 2.0. That's a good one to check out if you're curious about that. The deep yearning we have for an attuned, deeply intimate relationship really can lead to some behaviors that just don't actually effectively promote the kind of relationship that we want. But this desire to have a beautiful, loving relationship is also a gift. Now, I'm going to slow down here and make it clear that many people want a deeply loving relationship, but highly sensitive women in particular are especially oriented towards this. And I'll say a little bit more about that later. And so we do have a very strong desire, oftentimes, not all highly sensitive women, but if you're listening, you probably do. And so that deep desire is a gift because it makes us the vision holders of the kind of sensitive relationships, of the kind of healing, beautiful, nurturing relationships that will be so healing for everyone as more and more of them come to life. So if you haven't paused to crystallize your vision of the marriage you want lately, like what exactly you want it to be, I highly recommend doing so soon. You can pause the episode or just wait till after it's done. But what do you envision for your marriage in your heart of hearts, if anything were possible? I'll bet what you come up with will look a lot like more attunement, more depth, more presence, more connection, more love, all the qualities that fall under the umbrella of sensitive connection. Now, this vision didn't land in you by accident. It landed in you because it wants to be created. It wants to come through you into the world. It's calling you to step up and bring it to life. That's why we have visions. They don't land in us randomly. And this desire and vision are powerful because one of the beautiful parts about it is that when we lovingly tend to and honor our sensitivity and we keep holding that vision as a beacon we're choosing to move toward, it stops being hard work. It becomes motivated and energized, a sort of passion we move with and grow because of. Like it's a powerful transformative vehicle, this desire and this vision. So yeah, that's a gift for creating the relationship that you want. Which brings me to the second reason we are the harbingers of this sensitive love revolution. Although our HSP intelligence is different than the norm, and you might have felt different or weird or like the black sheep for a lot of your life, this intelligence actually makes us uniquely positioned to bring about this sensitive revolution in our own relationships and beyond. We naturally have an intelligence that is relational. Like I was saying earlier, we are the rock stars of relating. We are biologically wired towards relating in a way that no other people are. And our intelligence is also perceptive and attentive and caring and subtly attuned and loyal and steadfast and colorful and creative and healing. So these qualities are already within you. They don't need to be forced. And when you honor them and make way for them to emerge safely, you model the emotional richness and responsiveness that creates safety and deep connection in your marriage. The third thing that I want to bring into the conversation today is your big capacity for feeling, those big emotions that come up in you. Although some people might call you too sensitive or too intense, those emotions are actually the antidote to the numbness and the shutdown that so often are the kiss of death in an intimate relationship. And really, that depth of feeling is a sustainable source of love and tenderness and passion in your relationship when you know how to guide your emotions, when you know how to work with your emotions. The truth is, because we feel so deeply, we don't just experience emotions on the surface. We reflect and we integrate and we work to understand them. And this really gives us the ability to recognize patterns in our relationships and anticipate other people's needs and respond thoughtfully rather than reactively. Our depth allows us to hold space for difficult feelings and have meaningful conversations and cultivate a level of intimacy that many people miss out on. And yes, there will be moments where we might feel flooded with overwhelming emotions, but if you pause and you do the deep processing of those emotions that's being called for, you gain access to wise insights that will take your relationships to deeper, richer places. The fourth thing that can be an incredible gift and sometimes can be a challenge is that although our tendency to notice imperfections in ourselves and our partners, like the little thing he's doing wrong or the little place that you regret what you did, and I call this flaw sight, It can be problematic if we aren't guiding our sensitivity well. It can also be an incredible gift because this is the kind of sight needed to diagnose the areas that need to be healed or developed inside of yourself and in your partner in order to best thrive together as a couple. We can also think of this as the sensitive awareness to become the most conscious, empowered, loving versions of ourselves and be able to navigate relationships beautifully when we pair it with some real emotional and relationship skills. So, for example, my sensitivity, as yours probably does too, helps me see where he has growing to do, places he has trouble seeing in himself. And he's told me so many times that I've helped him become a much better man. And he loves who he's become by my side. And I know some of this was because of my flaw sight and the way I've been able to skillfully use it to help us grow and to help him grow into who he wants to be. Another place sensitivity can be challenging, but ultimately is a superpower, is our empathy, or what we could call mirror-neuron magic, because we have more sensitive or active mirror neurons than non-highly sensitive people. So we HSPs often have a strong mirroring ability, meaning our nervous systems naturally pick up on subtle cues in others. So tone of voice, body language, even micro expressions. And this isn't just noticing. It's sometimes goes to the level of feeling what the other person feels. It's like our brains have built-in empathy amplifiers, which make us naturally skilled at tuning into our partner's emotional state and responding in ways that create connection and safety, if we have the skill to not be knocked off center by this empathy. So then when we honor and direct this gift, we can really create relationships where our partners feel truly seen and understood and emotionally held. And that's another thing my husband has said to me many times. He's said, I feel so supported and so seen and so loved for who I am. I feel you really get me. And I'm in awe of how in tune we can feel. And I have to say that hearing that feels like music to my ears. So relationships where that is happening, those are beautiful things to lead and bring into the world, right? That's something that's really so needed. All right, so one more area that can be seen as detrimental for highly sensitive people, can feel like problematic, is that we can tend towards people pleasing or over concern about upsetting others. So I sometimes call this overcare, where we're caring for others at our own expense. And yes, this can be a problem, but it also can become a relational gift when we've developed deep emotional safety and security and self-worth and self-love, because it's rooted in the deep conscientiousness and care and compassion that we actually need to survive and thrive as a human species. It's the very thing that inspires us and others to look out for each other with fierce care and kindness. And this is a wonderful thing in our intimate relationships when it's channeled well and turned towards ourselves first. In other words, when we can bring love and compassion to ourselves first, then it can naturally extend out to our partner and others, like sustainably. And it can really show others how deep care and compassion is done. And boy, do we need that in our marriages and our world. And the last area I want to mention today is that your need for quiet as an HSP and for space to yourself to decompress can feel excessive to some, but it is just the example that other humans need in order to put an end to this toxic, fast-paced culture that robs us of actually enjoying life and is even robbing the planet of life itself. It's exactly what many of our relationships and certainly what our societies need to learn: to slow down, to relax, to de-stress, to rest and get resourced so each of us can access the love and insight to be able to approach life and our partnerships and everything on this planet more thoughtfully for generations to come. So that need, especially when you're giving it to yourself for that quiet space, for that decompression, really for that groundedness, is a gift that you can lead into the world when you honor it for yourself first. Now, of course, there are many other gifts that we bring as highly sensitive people, many other ways we are naturally suited to bring about beautiful, loving changes in our intimate relationships and the world. So if you want to hear more of those, one episode you could turn to is episode number 3. But for now, just know, we highly sensitive women are the ones to lead ourselves and others back to our hearts, back to compassion and care and being in tune with others, back to sensitivity and deep connection and mutual supportiveness in our marriages. And you can bring this very much alive in your relationship and the world. But none of this happens automatically. We can't lead, love, or live our sensitivity fully if we're overwhelmed or drained or allowing others to walk all over us or just not skilled when it comes to our sensitivity, when we don't know how to support our sensitivity and work with it. Now, of course, all of these gifts of your sensitivity are innate, but there are blocks to expressing them fully. In other words, we haven't always learned how to honor and harness our gifts. Just like, say, someone was born to be an amazing horse rider, but they never got on a horse, or at least not often enough to bring out that gift. So what does it mean to bring this natural goodness forward in ourselves and to inspire our partners to step into their own sensitivity and best selves? Well, the podcast is here to guide you, of course. In past episodes, there's 200 and plus of them, and in upcoming episodes, I have and I will continue to unpack practical ways to usher in a sensitive love revolution in your marriage and in the world. And of course, my programs help you do that step by step in a sequential, supported way. But here's a brief overview of the essence of it. The way that we get started is by taking responsibility for creating the love and connection we want. And that starts with leading yourself, becoming the powerful, relationally and emotionally skillful, most sensitive, loving version of yourself without waiting for your partner to change. Right? It starts with what you can control, which is the way you show up, the way you relate to yourself, and the way you respond and relate to your partner. Simple beginnings include pausing to notice your feelings and grounding yourself before reacting, right? Those are pretty obvious beginning places, but it also goes much deeper. Learning to deeply love and believe in yourself and your sensitivity, developing the emotional agency to move through and out of the hard feelings that come up and move into the loving feelings that foster more connection. And a lot of that starts with nervous system regulation and learning to guide your thinking. And other things that are important here are learning to effectively advocate for what you want and setting strong boundaries, and of course, more. And when we do this work, we bring the gift of our sensitivity fully into the relationship, like all the superpowers of our sensitivity. There isn't just one gift, if you haven't noticed, right? I've just mentioned several, but there are more than I've even mentioned here. So when we do this work, we bring all of those gifts and we harness our ability to lead ourselves and our relationships to the kind of love and relationship we want. We really become the people our partners naturally, truly respect and respond lovingly to and connect with deeply. And that is the way to truly create the love and the life we desire and we deserve as highly sensitive women. And here's the bigger picture. The more we sensitive people, the more we sensitive women do this, the more we lead the way for a sea change in human relationships. We HSPs can and will revolutionize the way relationships are experienced. A revolution of sensitivity and care and respect and trust and unconditional love and self-honoring. And it starts with you, with your hands and your heart and your mind and your choices. But change does not happen magically. It requires active effort and self-awareness and personal responsibility. Just as a child must show responsibility to earn freedom, or women historically had to fight for the right to vote, we also must take deliberate action to create the sensitivity and the care and the depth we want to see in our relationships and in the world. So choose to do this work on purpose, because this is what the sensitive love revolution begins with. You showing up fully and learning the skills it takes to work with your sensitivity and letting your natural gifts shape the emotional environment of your marriage until your marriage becomes such a yummy, nourishing one. And the ripple effects are profound for your partner, your family, and yes, the wider world around you. Every choice you make, every moment you pause, every act of care and presence, it all matters. So step into your sensitivity and trust your gifts and lead with love. The sensitive love revolution begins with you, and the world is waiting for it. All right, my beautiful friends, be oh so well.